Coming up on the Raiders Report, we're going to give you the full details on Mark Davis's car accident. Is Casey Hayward recruiting Melvin Ingram in free agency? And how much does Derek Carr love John Brown? That's all coming up right now.
No matter the location, from OAKLA to LV, I'm a Raider.
Mitchell Retten's here from Chat Sports, and you guys are watching the Raiders Report. We got the latest news and rumors, but before we get into it, man, I want to give a special shout-out to today's sponsor, Magic Spoon. I've been crushing their peanut butter cereal. If you guys are looking for some healthy cereal, all you guys need to do and know is go to magicspoon.com/Raiders. 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, only 140 calories per bowl. This stuff is absolutely wild. So what I want you to do is show them a little bit of love. Type Magic Spoon down in the comments and, hey, I'm going to hook you up a little bit. So if you want to hook up with our new sponsor, type Magic Spoon down in the comments for the hookup. I'll be looking, so make sure you guys show them a little bit of love. The latest news around the Las Vegas Raiders has to do with Mark Davis, who is the owner. He was involved in a mini car accident this past week. It was actually on Wednesday morning. The accident occurred in a shopping complex near the Las Vegas Strip. It was also near a TJ Maxx. I'm not from Las Vegas. I don't live in Las Vegas. So if that helps anybody out who lives in that area, well, then there you go. Luckily, no serious injuries. It was really just a fender bender. Actually, both him and the woman involved in this little fender bender were able to walk away, leave. I was actually told that the police were not even called. They just both got into their cars and they drove away. The story that's been making more headlines, not just the accident, is what kind of car Mark Davis is driving. So if y'all can see, there's some sort of Dodge minivan over here, and then there's a Mini Cooper. So the car that Mark Davis, the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders and the Las Vegas Aces, the WNBA team, he owns a Mini Cooper. Not just any Mini Cooper. I did some research, and I found out what kind of car this was. This is a 2020 Mini Cooper Outback. There's one thing. Mark Davis is not an outdoorsman, I can guarantee you that. And this car costs $41,500. Like, I got no issues with Davis driving whatever he wants to drive, but I do think it's funny because obviously we know his whole haircut issue, and now we're talking about the Mini Cooper. But the real story is this. Should Mark Davis drive a Mini Cooper? No! Zero Chucky heads, tuck roll, tucked out. This man is worth around $500 million. Let me say that again. $500 million. Like, he not only owns the Raiders, WNBA Las Vegas Aces, his home in Vegas is worth about $6 million. Like, if you want to spend $41,500, or if you want to be a little bit, we'll say, cheaper on your car, like, is $41,000 cheap for most people? No, it's way more expensive than my car. Is it cheap for Mark Davis? Yes. But if you want to stay undercover, why are you driving a Mini Cooper, Mark? Like, it's just a bad look when you put the haircut plus with the Mini Cooper. Here's the question that I'm going to ask y'all. When you saw that he drove this type of vehicle, and he's probably going to have to change the car now, but were you surprised? I want you to type Y for yes, or I want you to go down in the comments section and type N for no. The biggest reason why this is a story is because nobody, and I mean nobody, is surprised whatsoever that Mark Davis is driving a Mini Cooper. If you would have told me that he was driving one 3 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, that totally makes sense, right? But I will say this. Respect to Mark Davis for rocking and rolling around in a Mini when he could easily afford just about any kind of car he wants, right? So saving money is always a good thing. There's no doubt about that. And I see some people on the internet were like, oh, if he saves money on his car, it means he can go out and spend more money on free agents, right? It's not quite how it works, and he does have a little bit of extra money in his bankroll, and who knows, maybe he can start putting some of those seats a little bit cheaper so the rest of Raider Nation can actually go to some games. But it was a top story. I wanted to be able to give you guys my full insight. Mark Davis, he is 100% okay. So was the woman involved in this fender bender, but I also wanted to have a little bit of fun because that's exactly what we do here at the Raiders Report. So make sure you guys stay up to date on everything going on around the Las Vegas Raiders. Here, we got you covered. Today's sponsor is Magic Spoon. We've been crushing, and I mean crushing boxes of cereal here at Chat Sports, and y'all can too. Go to magicspoon.com/Raiders where you guys can get $5 off your very first order. Who loves cocoa? Well, I guess I should say that in a different way. Who loves chocolate kind cereal? They got that covered. Peanut butter, berry. They have all these amazing types of flavors, and I guarantee you this, when you eat it, you're not really going to believe that this is actually healthy for you. If you have watched the Raiders Report before, you know that I'm trying to get in better shape, right? COVID kind of kicked my butt a little bit. I got a few LBs that I need to get rid of. Luckily, with this cereal, not only does it taste great, not only does it kill my craving, it's 13 grams of protein, some boxes even up to 14, which, yeah, this peanut butter one here, 14 grams of protein, 4 grams of net carbs, 0 grams of sugar. It's also keto-friendly if you're trying to stay on a keto diet, but it's magicspoon.com/Raiders, and this is going to be in the comments. It's going to be in the description, and if you guys want that special hookup, remember, I need you to go down in those comments right now and let me know and comment Magic Spoon. Melvin Ingram, is he on his way to the Las Vegas Raiders? Well, if it was up to Casey Hayward, it would definitely already be a done deal. Right now, as it stands, Ingram is a free agent edge rusher still out there, but I will give credit to Casey Hayward, who the Raiders also signed this past season. He's been recruiting Ingram on Twitter. NFL went out on Twitter and basically posted, like, where should Melvin Ingram sign? And Hayward goes and just ats the Raiders like, hey, let's go ahead. Let's bring this guy into the team. If anybody's surprised by that, I'm really not. Hayward and Ingram, they've been on the Chargers together for the past 5 seasons, so there's already that relationship there between these two players. Plus, adding a pass rusher, that definitely never hurts. And Ingram, let's face it, he definitely knows the Gus Bradley system from playing in it over and over. So here's the exact, we'll say, tweet that came out. That way you guys can see that I'm not just making this stuff up here. Hayward replied to the Raiders, and the NFL was like, where exactly is he going to play? And I always think it's funny. I always find it so often that highlights that other NFL teams show often deal with the Raiders in there. So Melvin Ingram, sack and Derek Carr. Perfect, right? So get your votes in here. Should the Raiders go out and sign Ingram? I want you to type S for sign, or I want you to go down in the comment section and type P for pass. To be honest, I can actually give you an answer for both of these reasons. The first one, if you want to go ahead and type S for sign, if he's healthy and he's willing to take a cheap deal, then I will go ahead and type my S for sign, because you can't deny that he's a good player. You can't deny that it's not still a need for the Raiders. Like, I like some of the players that they brought in, and this is probably the best defensive line this Raiders team has had over the last 3-4 years. I get it. It's not saying much. But if he is healthy, you know that Ingram can bring a lot to this football team. 7 sacks in 2019. 7 sacks in 2018, 10.5 in 2017, and then 8 sacks. Plus, he knows the defense, which is really important. The biggest issue is this. He wasn't healthy in 2020. So when people ask, all right, if Hayward's recruiting him, Mitch, what are the chances that Ingram comes to the Raiders? I'm probably only going to give this one chucky head and say it's a small shred of truth, simply because Ingram is unlikely to take a cheap deal. He still believes that he's probably a premier edge rusher, and don't get me wrong, sometimes these NFL players, their chests get a little bit big, their heads get too big to be able to walk into rooms, and that's what I see a little bit with Ingram right now. He's already visited the Miami Dolphins. He's already had visits with the Kansas City Chiefs. The biggest reason why he's still out there, I guess I should say the 2 biggest reasons, he wants too much money, and teams don't know if he's 100% healthy. Not knowing those 2 things, that's where I could say, okay, if you wanted to go ahead and type your P for pass, don't worry, I get you. But Casey Hayward, though, wasn't the only player to try to recruit Ingram. Aaron Donald's out there saying, hey, man, you want to come to the Rams? We got you covered. Jason Verrett of the 49ers. And actually, all 3 of these teams probably do make some sense for Ingram to go to, because he'd be a reliable veteran, could stay out there on the West Coast and continue to dominate and play a certain role, which I'd say is like a 30%, 40% of the snaps, pin your ears back and get after the quarterback role. But luckily for the Raiders, even if they don't get him, they're going to be okay. You got Yannick Ngakoue, Max Crosby, Cleveland Ferrell. Ngakoue's been just hyping up him and Max. Clee, if he's good up the middle, we'll see how much better he gets as the outside rusher. But the other area where you could see Ingram potentially come in is once in a while, Bradley, they don't always run out 4 linebackers, but let's say you do want to run 4 linebackers out there, right? If he wanted to be somebody that could sit on the edge as a stand-up defensive end, stand-up LB, obviously, that could be a pretty interesting role for him to be able to fill in his shoes. Now, if you go ahead and do that, it does also put you in some interesting situations, because even though Carl Nassib wasn't the best last season, the contract that you gave him, and because you restructured his contract, you can't really move on from him. Moving on from Carl Nassib is still going to cost you $10.4 million against dead cap, and it's $5 million in the hole. So if you're going to be in the hole, you might as well just go ahead and pay Carl Nassib. And then it also limits the ability of Malcolm Kuntz, who you drafted in the 3rd round, 79 overall in this past year's draft. Do I think if Ingram was healthier, he'd be better than Nassib and Kuntz? Yes, I absolutely do. But if you are the Las Vegas Raiders right now, you need to still invest in some of your younger talent. I'm not invested in Nassib because he's not going to be around after this season, but you invested in Kuntz. I want to see what I can get out of him. Could Ingram put Kuntz underneath his arm and teach him a lot? Yes, I absolutely think so. But with how much he's going to demand, I just don't really see it happening. If the Raiders go out and sign Melvin Ingram, if they make a big-time trade, if they make any video or any move whatsoever, we'll make a video for you here on the Raiders Report. We're the #1 most-watched Raiders channel on YouTube, not because we don't take any days off, even if I'm as sick as I am. And if I do sound sick, well, just so you know, I came into work so y'all could get a video. But 100% free. But it's the interaction, it's the comments, it's our community tab, it's all the people that join our live shows every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. There's not a YouTube channel in the world that has the interaction that this one does. So if you want to join the fam, hit that big red button and subscribe. Derek Carr and John Brown are already building up some chemistry. And when I saw this report come out, I started rubbing my hands like, oh yeah, here we go, baby. So the fact that the Raiders went out and signed John Brown in free agency, they decided to bring him in to be this Nelson Agholor replacement. And there's no doubt that's going to be big-time shoes to fill because Nelly did such a good job. Carr loved Nelly as well. But the fact that Brown and Carr are already working on this relationship and the fact that both of these players are like, dude, it's really good right now, that's what I like to see. But instead of just talking about minicamp where, according to multiple reports, like Carr and Brown were on the same page, you have to go back a little bit. As soon as Brown signed with the Raiders, him and fellow players, they started meeting up with Carr. And they're like, all right, let's start working. Let's get to work right now. That's one of the biggest reasons why he's taken that next step. So this is exactly what Derek Carr had to say on John Brown. Awesome person, great teammate, reminds me a lot of Nelson Agholor. Very fast, very smart, works hard, but he's a great person just like Nelly. I think that they are very similar players. So sad to lose Nelly, love him and wish him the best, but love the guy so much, but happy to get Smoke here. Love that guy. Great relationship with him already. If you don't know, Smokey Brown, that's John Brown's nickname. Here's what John Brown had to say on his quarterback, Derek Carr. The thing that stood out to me first and foremost is he's a man of God. And that's one thing I definitely respect about him, and that's what I love. But just his work ethic and the things he continues to do for this offense. He's just a great person all around, and he's a veteran quarterback. So I had a few veteran quarterbacks in my time, and I know how to work with those guys, and it's going to be fun. I was so excited when the Raiders signed John Brown because I saw the Nelly contract, and I was like, all right, if you're willing to go out and get Brown, who has put up some pretty solid years in the past for literally a fraction of the amount of money, I was excited, and I know Derek Carr's excited, and I know John Brown's excited. So what I want you guys to do is pick a number here, okay? Look into your crystal balls. And how many receiving yards for John Brown this upcoming season? If you think it's going to be more than he had last year, if you think it's going to be a little bit less, seriously, go down in the comments and let me know. In terms of John Brown ending the season as the Raiders' top wide receiver, I'm going to give this one to Chucky Heads and people are talking. It's a 50-50 chance. I'm probably a lot more higher on Brown and the Derek Carr connection simply because I've followed Derek for a long time now. I know what kind of receivers he works well with, and the fact that he's saying it's just like Nelly and Brown in terms of bringing that, we'll say, on-field talent, he actually might have more talent than Nelson Agholor, and he's a good route runner. He's got the speed as well. But the thing that's holding back Brown is the Raiders want Ruggs and Edwards to be the top two receivers, and I do too. I want Ruggs and Edwards to be the top two guys as well. However, I also know what John Brown can bring to the table. And if he can stay 100% healthy, I'd probably give it 3 Chucky Heads because I really do think that he could be that wide receiver 1. Now, in terms of most receiving yards, Darren Waller's still going to have more. But back in 2019, over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. He has the talent, he has the athletic ability, and he also can run routes. And he's a very smart player, which is something that Derek Carr is definitely going to lean on. The other reason, I mean, you can't deny facts, right? Snapple facts. Derek Carr loves the number 15. And I think it's kind of funny. You always see some of these like little jokes here and there. And as soon as John Brown was like, yo, I'm going to be 15, everyone was like, oh, here we go. He's going to be the top guy. But you have to go back and look at some of the history of Derek Carr with some other receivers that do wear 15. And obviously just because you wear 15 doesn't mean he's like, oh, that's the guy I'm going to go to. But it is kind of a funny thing the way it works out. So Nelly last year, number 15, Probably had one of his best seasons in a very long time. I would actually argue the best of his career. 896 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns, 48 catches, was a great field stretcher. And you can't forget the Crab. Everyone down in the comments, throw Crab down there, where in 2015, 2016, 2017 was basically the top receiver for this Raiders team. Shout out to Oakland as well. I miss saying the Oakland Raiders report. And then in 2018, went to the Baltimore Ravens, had a little bit of a downtick in terms of numbers. So in terms of John Brown being that number 1 wide receiver, it's two Chucky heads. If he can get the chemistry down, if he can stay healthy, sky's the limit for this guy. And if he can stay healthy, look for at least 800 yards from Smokey Brown.